Welcome to The Outlook. Today's conversation is about how WhatsApp conversations can actually become legally binding contracts. And we are joined by Blair Twebembire. He is the lawyer that handled the matter that was recently concluded in court, where the Honorable Justice Patricia Kahigi gave a judgment saying, actually, WhatsApp conversations, if well documented, can turn out to be legally binding contracts. Welcome to the show, Blair. It's a pleasure to host you today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Briefly give us a background of this very exciting case.
Thank you, Rebecca. So this is a case about the conversations that took place through the WhatsApp platform. My client, who is a renowned medical practitioner in town, was approached by one of the medical facilities around to undertake certain surgeries at their hospital. But the person who approached him, the owner of the hospital, approached him through WhatsApp text. So he also replied through the WhatsApp text, and somehow an agreement was reached that they are going to meet and take the discussion forward. Eventually they met and they agreed on how they are going to be working together. And so he went ahead, undertook to do those surgeries. We did the surgeries. A lot of medical information regarding the patients was communicated through the WhatsApp forum between the two. They shared a lot regarding how their relationship is going to work, how they were going to bill, how my client, who was a consultant, was going to be paid for his job. And so there was a lot going on through WhatsApp texts. Unfortunate for my client, when he completed the job, he was not paid. He didn't have a written contract, and so he was worried that actually he's going to lose out.
Right.
So he came to me saying, how do I deal with this? I have no written contract. Everything that happened was through this WhatsApp forum. I looked at it very carefully. I felt like this is like any other communication that you would have with a normal person. It's a purely formal contractual setting, though it was done through WhatsApp. So my mind told me, you know what, irrespective of the forum where this was concluded, it can actually be enforced as a formal contract.
Yes.
And so I convinced him that let's take it to court and let court make a decision whether actually this can be enforced or not.
Right.
And I'm glad that the judge listened to us.
Yes.
And he gave us the judgment.
That must have been very exciting for you and for your client as well.
It was very exciting,
yes,
irrespective of the fact that actually the matter proceeded ex parte.
Is that so?
Yes.
Why was that?
Because the defendants refused to show up. They were served, they were summoned many times, but they didn't show up in court.
Wow.
Yes.
They felt they had a bad case, perhaps.
Or they had a good case and they thought we would never win.
They thought you would never win?
Probably.
So tell me the uniqueness of this case. What is the uniqueness? Because it has been resounded all over this country. I mean, we've posted it all over social medias. What makes it so unique?
I wouldn't say the case was very unique. When you look at it plainly, it is any other business transaction that any person could have entered into.
Right.
This was a discussion between a medical doctor and a hospital on how they are going to, have a relationship.
Right.
So the only difference is that all the discussions, the biggest part of the contract was being, communicated through WhatsApp.
Right.
So it's a WhatsApp communication.
Right.
So the biggest question was, can you enforce the conversations that are actually done through WhatsApp? That was the unique feature with this case.
Yes.
We are used to enforcing contracts,
written
contracts that are written, or maybe through email, some form of hard paper, contracts. That's what we are used to. But this was a unique one where you had to rely on texts through a social media platform,
right,
like WhatsApp.
Right.
Yeah.
So the judge's decision was based on the fact that the contract had, the conversation had all the elements of a contract.
Yes. In her judgment, she clearly said that everything that transpired through the WhatsApp texts fulfilled the ingredients or the elements of a contract. So there was meeting of the minds. People agreed that clearly we were going to do this, and they were going to be paid for their service.
Right.
The other key feature probably which the judge was pointing out is that in Uganda the law requires that all contracts whose value is beyond 500,000 shillings must be in
Documented.
writing.
Yeah.
So the question was, can we regard these text messages as a written contract? The Contracts Act, of course, talks about data form. Transactions that are done through data form, so
Right.
through electronic means, so to say. So if the Contracts Act allows communication through data form, then it means that a text message that is going through an electronic media, an electronic format like WhatsApp or like a cell phone,
Right.
qualifies to be data
Right.
format.
Right.
She went ahead and said there is the Electronic Transactions Act,
Right.
which also recognizes transactions that are done electronically, especially through computers. And she went ahead and actually referred to an Indian case which recognized a cell phone as a form of a computer.
Right.
So if the Electronic Transactions Act allows communication or transactions through computers, and then the Contracts Act recognizes contracts that are in data form,
Yes.
there was no reason why she couldn't have said that this was a written contract. And because of that legal framework, she was
Yes.
very convinced that actually whatever happened between my client and the hospital qualified to be a written contract.
I couldn't agree more with the Honorable Judge. She was very thorough.
Yes.
And I know,
She's, I think, one of the young breed of judges
yes,
who are quick to realize that times have changed.
Times have
so
changed.
we must move with
yes,
the times.
and that's where I was going next.
Yes.
How does this decision now affect us, the everyday person who is now used to using phones, WhatsApp, TikTok? But how does it affect us now?
It means that your WhatsApp inbox is not the safest zone that you thought it was.
Indeed.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're texting, be mindful of what you're texting. Some of the things that you're texting could be legally binding, communications. So you
Yes.
must think of, am I binding myself? Am I binding my company? Am I binding my business when I'm
Yes.
communicating?
That's
Because it's
true.
no longer the safest zone that whatever happens inbox, people will not
It's
get
casual.
it.
Yeah.
Yes. It means that I can actually ask court to look at what happened between me and you through our inbox,
Yes.
and then determine whether actually I can enforce it in terms of, was this a legal contract? Was it a
Yes.
binding contract?
Yes.
So you have to think twice before you text that business partner about
Right.
something, because
Yes.
they may use it
Against you.
against you.
Yes.
Yes.
Someone asked about disappearing messages. I was seeing
Yes,
social media buzzing with questions. So the disappearing messages are common now. I don't know what your take is on that.
Because we don't want to keep record of some things that we do.
Yes.
Yes, it's a feature that of course is very popular with people who don't want to keep record of whatever they are talking about.
Right.
So if you're transacting or if you're discussing with a person who has activated disappearing messages,
Right.
you must be careful.
Yes.
You must always have a backup for whatever that you're talking about. Because 24 hours down the road or 2 days down the road, you may not see those messages anymore. You may
That's
not
true.
retrieve them. So it's important that you back up your conversations. It's important that you take screenshots sometimes, so that in future, if there is maybe a disagreement or a dispute around what you discussed,
Yes.
then it can easily be retrieved and used as a backup,
Yes.
or as a record that can be interrogated by a court or any other authority
True.
that is looking at
True.
it. Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing all this information and your knowledge. We are proud to have hosted you today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for allowing to come and share with us.
Thank you.
What are your parting shots with regard to this?
I would want to maybe say that we need to recognize that times have changed. The world keeps evolving. So the legal system, our court system, must evolve with the times.
With the times.
We must recognize that a lot of business is done no longer in the traditional way, but rather in the way that we use these days. It's easy for me to text a message, ask someone, supply things. Text someone, you know what, I need a loan of so much. Can you hook me up with, a short-term loan? Things like that. So if we are doing a lot of business transactions in this kind of way, using social media platforms, using, tech means, then even our legal systems must evolve to be able to recognize these systems that we are using.
That's true.
So us lawyers must be bold enough, first of all, to bring actions that can test the applicability of the law in the current situations. We must not always insist on traditional ways of doing things. We must evolve with the times. And even the judges must be able to recognize that, yes, times have changed. We must move with the times. Our decision must be alive to the circumstances of the time, and therefore must be able to protect people's rights within the practicalities of life.
Right.
That's what I would say.
So there you have it. I hope you've learned enough about contracts and how your WhatsApps can actually turn out to be legally binding against you if you don't use them properly. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm Rebecca. I'm your host.